Welcome back inside Gillette Stadium, everybody. My name is Mike Petraglia, joined as always by Patriots expert columnist for WEEI.com, Christopher Price. All right, Chris, this is Rex Ryan's Super Bowl, no doubt about it. I mean, all of the speculation out of Gotham is he's done. The Jets are 3-11. The Jets are clearly wanting to go in a new direction, and certainly the Jets are going to play hard for Rex Ryan this week. I think the $64 million question, will playing hard be enough to shock the Patriots?
I think there's going to be a lot of emotion around this game for the Jets. I think when you put it all together, when you talk about Rex Ryan's potentially his last game coaching the Jets at MetLife Stadium, when you talk about the fact that, as you mentioned, this is the Jets Super Bowl, they would love nothing more than to ruin things for New England in the pursuit of the #1 seed when you're talking about the AFC playoff picture. So there's going to be a lot going into this. I don't think the Jets are going to roll over. We've seen a lot of fight from them, literally last week against the Titans. So I think this is going to be a messy, sloppy game. It's supposed to be nasty weather. So I think all of that feeds into it. I think it's going to be a messy, sloppy game for the better part of a half. But I think ultimately that's not going to be enough for the Jets. I think New England ends up winning this thing by a couple of touchdowns.
All right, the Jets, as you mentioned, have been in tight games. Bill Belichick spoke about that here on Wednesday, that this is a team that has fought hard all year. Yes, they have lost 5 games by 2 or more touchdowns, and that's what Tom Brady was referring to when he said, we want to get ahead of this team and put them away easily, because we have not been able to do that against the Jets. Everybody recalls what happened on October 16th right here at Gillette Stadium. It was 27-25. Chris Jones saved the day with that blocked field goal attempt. Last year at MetLife Stadium, the Patriots weren't so lucky. They blew a 21-10 halftime lead. The long and short of it is that Tom Brady doesn't want this game coming down to the last minute. He wants to put them away like they did in the butt fumble game a couple of years ago on Thanksgiving. Yeah,
exactly. And that goes back to what we were saying before. If you let the Jets hang around, they're going to get a sense that they're in this thing and they have a chance to win it. You have to bring a lot of emotion. You have to bring a lot of energy. We've seen this Patriots team do that on the road, do a very good job of that on the road over the last couple of months. They need to do the same thing this week against New York. You make the Jets one-dimensional, you should be able to win this game. They do a pretty good job running the football. They struggle to throw it. Literally commit.
That is, of all of the things you said this year, Chris, maybe the understatement of the year. You think?
Yeah, you put 9 guys up front. You literally, the old phrase, stack the box. You put 8 or 9 guys up front. You commit to stopping the run. You commit to stopping Chris Johnson and Chris Ivory, and let Geno Smith try and beat you with a series of passes to Eric Decker and whoever else you got out there. So I think the Patriots feel pretty good about where they are defensively. But again, you make this Jets team one-dimensional. You make them try and throw the ball to try and beat you. I think that's half the battle for New England.
On the other side of the ball for the Jets, look, this defense can stop the run with the best of them in the National Football League. They're giving up, I think it is 82, 83 yards per game. That's 4th best in all of the National Football League. And their pass defense, as much as their secondary was burned early in the year, hasn't been playing terribly. They're, I think, ranked 22nd. The long and the short of that is this Jets defense isn't terrible, which I think puts all the much more emphasis on getting ahead of them and making sure that the Jets defense doesn't play with any regard of confidence or the sense that they can get after Brady.
That's the phrase you're looking for, right there, confidence. And I think you want to, getting back to our other points, you want to make sure the Jets, you want to take all the air out of that balloon very, very early on. Yeah. One of the things in particular about the Jets, as you mentioned, they have a very good run defense. They're one of the best run defenses in the league. They struggle relating specifically to second, third wide receivers as well as tight ends. They're one of the worst teams in the league at defending tight ends. Rob Gronkowski has always done very, very well against the Jets. This certainly sets up to be one of those weeks where we're looking at a Rob Gronkowski performance, 7 catches for 100 yards and a pair of touchdowns.
Well, and I think it is. They've given up an NFL high 15 touchdowns to tight ends this season. Obviously, you would think not only Rob Gronkowski gets his looks, but Tim Wright as well. Let's talk about the other side of the ball. On the conference call, it was Rex Ryan talking about how Darrelle Revis has changed the look of the Patriot defense since they last played him on October 16th. And that is, they're playing a lot more man, but he said the Patriots do a really good job of playing man in a different type of fashion. What does he mean by that?
If you can get the all 22 film on NFL.com, the NFL Game Rewind film, you can see some really interesting things, how the Patriots approach things, their pass defense, how they go about defending different quarterbacks. Specifically, the work of the cornerbacks, and one of the things that Rex hit on today that we were talking about is that they do a really good job disguising whether it's man or whether it's zone, and confusing quarterbacks into making throws into areas where doesn't appear to be any coverage,
right.
But when they let go of the ball, all of a sudden there's a guy there. The Patriots do a really good job of that. Revis, Browner, McCourty, specifically, those three guys do an excellent job at disguising coverages. Look for that on Sunday as they try and confuse Geno Smith.
We talked about what Tom Brady was talking about, getting out to that quick lead, playing a full 60 minutes. The other thing I thought was interesting that Brady made reference to was how much fun he has had watching Darrelle Revis play this year.
Yeah, it really is, and it's fascinating because I think Tom Curran asked the question of Rex that at the start of the year, well, a lot of people didn't really think that Revis was, quite Revis anymore. Those first 4 games, there were some questions about him. He's having a great year. He's having a phenomenal year.
He's having a Pro Bowl year.
Yeah, exactly.
No
He's having a Pro Bowl year. He's one of those guys who I don't think he's going to get votes, but I think it's right to put him in that MVP conversation. Although, we can, if we're talking about MVPs as it relates to the Patriots, we can name Brady, we can name Gronk, we can name Revis. There's 3 guys right there, so it's going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out. Revis probably not going to get a whole lot of MVP consideration, but he's one of the biggest reasons why this team is where it is right now.
Interesting perspective from the coach that obviously Revis came up playing for and playing very hard for and learned a lot from in the National Football League. Some interesting comments on Wednesday. Some roster items here on Wednesday. Dominic Easley goes on injured reserve. The reports came out early on or midday on Wednesday that Easley was headed to the IR. He's really had knee issues that's bothered him all season long. What kind of impact does this have in terms of the depth along the defensive line?
Well, I think you're in relatively good shape right now. You could always use an extra body, especially one, a guy like Easley who has the resume that he has. But you look up and down that line, the return of Sillinga, the return of Chandler Jones, the continued acclimation process of guys like Akeem Ayers and Alan Branch and Vince Wilfork, kind of holding it all together. I think they're in very good shape up front. I think right now, as it relates to Easley just needs to get in the system, needs to get his knee cleaned up. He fundamentally, this is really a year, and I wrote this before, it's a postgraduate year for him at Vince Wilfork University. Just follow Vince around, keep your eyes and ears open and your mouth closed, do as Vince does, and get ready for 2015.
All right, with that roster spot opening, and they had a roster spot open, I believe it was on the practice squad, we had 2 additions. Tight end Steve Maneri comes back, quarterback Garrett Gilbert. What can a quarterback like Garrett Gilbert do in terms of providing some usefulness coming down the stretch here as the Patriots prepare for the playoffs?
As a camp arm, I think he's a guy who, might serve some sort of might have some sort of value working as a scout teamer, in that kind of role. I'm more fascinated with a guy like Maneri. I think Maneri is a guy who might be useful in those heavy sets, working as an extra tight end, extra offensive lineman, because he does have that background working as a tight end. He came up as a tackle, so he does have that background in his skill set when you're talking about what he might be able to bring to the field. It's interesting that Cameron Fleming hasn't been able to go the last couple of games, the guy that they've utilized in that role quite frequently, and he's performed very well, I think, in that role quite frequently. So Maneri might be that guy. If Fleming is unable to go, we could see Maneri more and more in that role going forward.
All right, what happens on Sunday at MetLife Stadium?
I think the Patriots end up winning this thing. I think the Jets are going to play hard for Rex, but I don't think in the end it's going to matter. I think New England ends up winning this thing. I'm going to say 31-14.
Best case scenario, the Patriots win it on Sunday at MetLife Stadium, sit back, kick their legs up on the couch, and watch the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Denver Broncos at Paul Brown Stadium Monday night. If that happens, the Patriots will wrap up the #1 seed in the AFC before they even take the field for their home and season finale against the Buffalo Bills a week from Sunday. We'll see how it unfolds. Yours truly, Christopher Price and Ryan Hannibal, will all be on site at MetLife Stadium on Sunday, bringing you all the coverage on WEEI.com. Inside Gillette Stadium, for Christopher Price, I'm Mike Petraglia, WEEI.com.